The humid air of the Portuguese night caressed my skin as I passed through the ornate gates of the Palace of Regaleira. Shadows danced around me, cast by the dim light of the ancient lamps. My name is Sofia, and I am an art history student in search of inspiration for my thesis. Little did I know that this nighttime visit to the palace would change my life forever. The night watchman, an elderly man with sunken eyes, gave me a warning look as he handed me a faded map. "Be careful with the initiation well," he murmured, his raspy voice echoing in the still air. "There are secrets buried there that should remain hidden." Ignoring the shiver that ran down my spine, I entered the labyrinthine gardens. The smell of damp earth and decaying leaves filled my nostrils. The centuries-old trees seemed to bow over me, their twisted branches forming grotesque shapes against the starry sky. As I walked along the winding paths, I couldn't help but notice the oppressive silence that enveloped the place. Not even the chirping of crickets or the rustling of leaves broke that unnatural stillness. It was as if the palace itself was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. As I ventured deeper into the gardens, a feeling of unease began to grow in my chest. The bushes seemed to move on their own, creating the illusion that someone, or something, was watching me. I tried to convince myself it was just my fertile imagination, fueled by the dark stories I had read about the place. Suddenly, a soft whisper reached my ears, so low that I almost thought I had imagined it. "Sofia." The sound of my name made my heart race. I spun around, looking for the source, but I was alone among the silent statues and dormant flower beds. Swallowing hard, I decided to move on. My steps took me to a clearing where a circular stone structure stood, the infamous initiation well. The moonlight bathed its mossy walls, creating ghostly patterns that seemed to writhe and change with each passing moment. I approached the edge of the well, feeling an inexplicable pull. The air grew colder, and a thin mist began to form around me. Leaning over the parapet, I tried to see the bottom, but all I could see was infinite darkness. Then I noticed something strange. My reflection in the dark water at the bottom of the well didn't match my movements. While I leaned forward, the figure in the water remained still, staring at me with empty eyes. I blinked several times, certain I was hallucinating. When I opened my eyes again, the reflection had changed. Now it was the face of an elderly woman, with wrinkled skin and sunken eyes. Her lips moved, forming words I couldn't hear. Fascinated and horrified at the same time, I couldn't look away. Suddenly, a bony hand emerged from the water, grabbing my wrist with superhuman strength. I screamed in terror, struggling to break free, but with each passing second, I was pulled closer to the edge of the well. The smell of decay filled my nostrils, and I could hear frantic whispers echoing from the depths. At the last moment, I managed to break free, falling back onto the damp grass. Panting and trembling, I crawled away from the well. It was then that I noticed something on my wrist, a red spiral-shaped mark, exactly where the hand had grabbed me. Fighting back panic, I stood up and ran back through the gardens. The statues seemed to follow me with their eyes, and the bushes closed behind me as if trying to block my escape. When I finally reached the main gate, I found it locked. The night watchman had disappeared. Desperate, I banged on the gate and shouted for help, but my voice seemed to be swallowed by the night. Then I heard a sound behind me, slow, dragging footsteps. Turning slowly, I saw a hooded figure emerging from the shadows. Their face was hidden, but I could feel their piercing gaze fixed on me. "Welcome, Sofia," said an ancient, raspy voice. "We have been waiting for you." Frozen with fear, I watched as other hooded figures emerged from the dark corners of the garden, forming a circle around me. They began to chant in a language I did not recognize, their voices rising in a sinister harmony. The figure who had spoken to me approached, extending a wrinkled hand in my direction. "It is time for you to learn the true secrets of Regaleira," she whispered. At that moment, the mark on my wrist began to burn, and I felt a wave of dizziness hit me. The voices of the hooded figures mixed with the whispers I had heard in the well, creating a deafening cacophony in my mind. Struggling to stay conscious, I saw flashes of terrifying images, ancient rituals performed in the bowels of the palace, sacrifices in the name of forgotten entities, and secrets hidden for centuries within the stone walls. When I thought I could bear no more, everything went silent. I opened my eyes to find myself back at the initiation well. The hooded figures formed a circle around the edge, their hidden faces turned toward me. "What do you want from me?" I managed to ask, my voice trembling with fear. The figure who seemed to be the leader stepped forward. "You have been chosen, Sofia. Just like many before you. The palace of Regaleira holds secrets older than time, and now you are part of them." She held out her hand, revealing a small object that gleamed in the moonlight, an intricately carved bronze key. "This is the key of mysteries. With it, you will be able to unlock the hidden secrets of this place. But be careful, each door you open will lead you deeper into the labyrinth of the unknown." Trembling, I took the key. The moment my fingers touched the cold metal, I felt a surge of energy course through my body. Visions of secret corridors, hidden chambers, and underground passages flooded my mind. "You have until dawn to complete the ritual," the figure continued. "Find the 5 hidden doors in the gardens and towers. Unravel the riddles behind each one. If you fail, your fate will be sealed along with those who came before you." With these words, the hooded figures vanished into the shadows, leaving me alone with the key and a growing sense of dread. The palace clock began to chime, marking midnight. I had 6 hours to save my soul. With trembling legs, I began my journey through the gardens. The key in my hand seemed to pulse with a life of its own, guiding me through the maze of vegetation. I reached a small ornate fountain, its waters as black as ink under the moonlight. In the center of the fountain, a statue of a weeping woman held a stone book. Approaching, I noticed a tiny keyhole in the book. With my heart pounding, I inserted the key. The mechanism turned with a soft click, and the sound of stone scraping against stone echoed through the night. The statue moved, revealing a spiral staircase descending into darkness. Taking a deep breath, I began to descend the damp, slippery steps. The air grew colder and heavier with each step, laden with the smell of mold and ancient secrets. Finally, I reached a small circular chamber, illuminated by ghostly candles that seemed to float in the air. On the walls of the chamber, I saw inscriptions and symbols I did not recognize. In the center, there was a pedestal with an aged scroll. I cautiously approached and unrolled the document. Written in elegant handwriting was a riddle. "I am the beginning of the end of time and space. I am essential to creation and exist nowhere. What am I?" My mind spun, trying to decipher the puzzle. Time was ticking away, and I could feel the pressure mounting. Finally, the answer came to me like a whisper, the letter E. The moment I spoke the answer aloud, the candles went out, plunging me into total darkness. For a moment, I thought I had failed, but then I felt something drop into my hands, a silver medallion engraved with a symbol. Climbing the stairs back to the gardens, I noticed that the landscape had subtly changed. The statues seemed to have moved, their stone eyes following me as I walked. The bushes whispered unheard secrets, and the shadows danced with a life of their own. The key led me to the second door, hidden behind a tapestry in the palace library. Upon entering, I found myself in an endless hallway of mirrors. Each reflection showed a different version of me, older, younger, disfigured, radiant. It was as if each mirror was a window into alternate realities. At the end of the hallway, I found another riddle engraved on a mirror. "The more you take, the bigger I become. What am I?" I looked at my reflection, seeing the fear in my own eyes. The answer came to me like a whisper, a hole. The mirror shattered, revealing a hidden passage. Inside, I found another medallion, this time made of gold. Hours passed, and I continued my frantic search for the remaining doors. The third was hidden at the top of the tallest tower, where I faced howling winds and visions of people throwing themselves to their deaths. The fourth, in the depths of an underground grotto, where the walls seemed to breathe and drip blood. With 4 medallions in my possession and only 1 hour until dawn, I found myself facing the final challenge, the initiation well. I descended its spiral steps, feeling the weight of the secrets I had uncovered. At the bottom of the well, I found the fifth and final door. As I opened it with the key, I was engulfed by a blinding light. When my eyes adjusted, I found myself in a circular room, surrounded by panels showing scenes from the palace's history. In the center, there was a stone altar with 5 recesses, each corresponding to one of the medallions I had collected. With trembling hands, I placed the medallions in their places. The sound of ancient gears echoed through the chamber, and the altar began to move, revealing a hidden passage below. Descending through this final passage, I arrived at a chamber that seemed to exist outside of time and space. The walls shimmered with unknown constellations, and in the center was an ancient book on a pedestal. The hooded figure who had given me the key emerged from the shadows. "You have reached the heart of Regaleira's mysteries, Sofia. Now, you have a choice to make." She pointed to the book. "This grimoire contains all the secrets of the palace and those who came before you. You can choose to read it and become the guardian of these mysteries, or you can leave it and return to the world you knew, forgetting everything you experienced tonight." My heart raced as I considered my options. Part of me longed to return to the safety of my normal life, but another part was irresistibly drawn to the secrets contained in that book. With trembling hands, I opened the grimoire. The pages were blank, but as soon as I touched the paper, words began to form as if written by an invisible hand. Stories of past lives, ancestral rituals, and long-forgotten knowledge flowed into my mind. As the last ray of moonlight disappeared and the rising sun touched the towers of the Palace of Regaleira, I emerged transformed. The gardens that once seemed threatening now whispered secrets that I could understand. The statues greeted me like old friends, and the palace itself seemed to breathe in sync with me. I found the night watchman at the main gate, his wrinkled face breaking into a smile of recognition. "Welcome back, Guardian," he said, bowing his head in respect. As I walked out of the gates, I cast one last look at the Palace of Regaleira. It remained as majestic and mysterious as ever, but now I carried its secrets within me. The mark on my wrist, once a red spiral, now glowed with a silvery light, a constant reminder of the journey I had faced and the fate I had chosen. Walking through the streets of Sintra, I knew my life would never be the same. The world around me seemed different, full of hidden layers and secret meanings that only I could see. And although part of me longed for the simplicity of my old life, I knew there was no going back. The morning sun bathed the streets of Sintra, but I felt as though I were still wrapped in the shadows of the night. My mind buzzed with the newly acquired knowledge, images of ancient rituals and dark secrets dancing before my eyes. The bronze key weighed heavily in my pocket, a tangible reminder that it had all been real. In the days that followed, I tried to resume my normal routine as a student, but nothing felt the same. During art history classes, I found myself mentally correcting the professors, knowing details about works and artists that no book had ever mentioned. At night, I was tormented by vivid dreams of past eras, reliving the memories of those who came before me. A week after my experience at the Palace of Regaleira, I noticed I was being followed. It was a subtle presence, almost imperceptible to common eyes, but I could feel the weight of watchful gazes wherever I went. Sometimes, I glimpsed hooded figures disappearing into alleys or blending into crowds. Were they the former guardians, watching me? Or something more sinister? One night, while studying in my small apartment, I heard a soft knock on the door. When I opened it, I was met by an elderly woman, her face marked by time, but her eyes shining with ancient wisdom. Without saying a word, she handed me an envelope sealed with red wax and disappeared before I could ask any questions. With trembling hands, I broke the seal. Inside, I found an invitation written in elegant handwriting. "Dear Sofia, your journey has only just begun. The secrets you now hold are older and more dangerous than you can imagine. It is time to learn how to use them wisely. Meet us at midnight at Cabo de Roca. Come alone and bring the key. The Order of the Guardians." My heart raced. Part of me wanted to ignore the invitation, to pretend that none of this was happening, and to try to return to my normal life. But I knew that was impossible now. The secrets of Regaleira were a part of me, and I needed to understand what it all meant. As the full moon rose over the Atlantic Ocean, I stood at the edge of the cliff at Cabo de Roca, the westernmost point of continental Europe. The wind howled around me, carrying the scent of salt and mystery. Suddenly, the air seemed to grow denser, as if the very fabric of reality was distorting. 7 hooded figures emerged from the mist, forming a circle around me. I recognized the leader as the same one who had given me the key at the palace of Regaleira. "Sofia," she spoke, her voice echoing supernaturally, "you proved your worth by unraveling the riddles of Regaleira. But that was only the beginning. The knowledge you now possess is both a burden and a blessing." She extended her hand, revealing an amulet that glowed with a light of its own. "This talisman is the symbol of our order. With it, you will be able to see beyond the veils that separate the worlds, and you will have the power to shape reality around you." Hesitantly, I took the amulet. The moment I touched it, I felt a wave of energy course through my body. My vision expanded, and I could see layers of reality that had previously been hidden. Ancestral spirits danced in the night breeze, and cosmic energy lines crisscrossed the earth beneath my feet. "With great power comes great responsibility," the leader continued. "There are dark forces that would seek to use this knowledge for nefarious purposes. It is our duty to protect the secrets and maintain the balance." In the months that followed, I was initiated into the deeper mysteries of the Order of the Guardians. I learned to manipulate hidden energies, to travel between dimensions, and to communicate with entities beyond human comprehension. Each new piece of knowledge expanded my perception of the universe, but also brought new dangers and responsibilities. My life became divided into 2 parallel realities. During the day, I was still Sofia, the art history student. But at night, I became a guardian of ancient secrets, patrolling the boundaries between worlds and protecting humanity from threats it didn't even know existed. One night, while meditating in my apartment, I felt a disturbance in the fabric of reality. Something was wrong. Using the amulet, I projected my consciousness to the palace of Regaleira, and what I saw filled me with terror. A group of occultists had invaded the palace, led by a man whose eyes glowed with a supernatural malice. They were performing a ritual to open a portal to a dark dimension, threatening to unleash unimaginable horrors upon our world. Wasting no time, I summoned the other guardians, and we transported ourselves to the palace. A fierce battle ensued, with ancient magic clashing and realities warping around us. The leader of the occultists, realizing he was outmatched, made a desperate move. He grabbed the bronze key I still carried and inserted it into a hidden lock in the initiation well. The ground began to shake, and a dimensional rift started to open. In that moment, I realized that everything I had been through had led me to this instant. Channeling all the knowledge and power I had acquired, I threw myself toward the portal. Using the amulet as a focus, I began to weave a sealing spell, fighting against the chaotic forces that threatened to consume everything. The battle of wills seemed to last an eternity. I felt as if every fiber of my being was being tested to the limit. But in the end, with a scream that echoed across dimensions, I managed to close the portal. The silence that followed was deafening. The occultists were defeated, their leaders captured to face the justice of our order. But the victory came at a cost. As I stood up, trembling and exhausted, I realized that something fundamental had changed. The mark on my wrist, once a silver spiral, now pulsed with an ethereal blue light. I could feel the power flowing through me in a way I had never experienced before. The leader of the Guardians approached, her eyes shining with a mix of pride and concern. "Sofia," she said softly, "you have transcended. What you did today, no Guardian has ever channeled so much power and survived." I looked at my hands, seeing small arcs of energy dancing between my fingers. "What does this mean?" I asked, my voice trembling slightly. "It means that your destiny is greater than any of us could have predicted," she replied. "You have become more than a guardian. You are now a weaver of reality, capable of shaping the very fabric of the universe." As the sun rose over the palace of Regaleira, illuminating the mysterious gardens and imposing towers, I contemplated the weight of this revelation. My journey, which had begun with a simple nighttime visit, had transformed me into something beyond human comprehension. I looked at the amulet in my hand, feeling the power pulsing within it, and then at the palace that had been the catalyst for all this change. I realized that my fate was irrevocably tied to this place and the secrets it guarded. With a sigh, I put away the amulet and turned to face my fellow guardians. "What do we do now?" I asked. The leader smiled, a smile that carried the weight of centuries of knowledge. "Now, Sofia, we continue our vigil. For as long as there are shadows, there will be a need for light. And you, my dear, have become the brightest beacon of all." As we walked away from the palace, I felt the world around me in a completely new way. Every leaf, every stone, every ray of sunlight seemed to contain entire universes of possibilities. And I, Sofia, once a simple student, now carried the responsibility of protecting and shaping those possibilities. The palace of Regaleira receded behind us, majestic and mysterious as ever. But now it was more than just a place. It was a symbol of my rebirth, the starting point of a journey that would last all eternity. As the doors closed behind us, I knew that my true adventure was just beginning. The secrets of Regaleira had transformed me, and now it was my turn to transform the world.